But then we got to be ready to lay down our lives. It's not going to change overnight. I mean, we got to be ready as Christians to be ready to support these women and these families when that option is not there anymore, which we would rejoice to the heavens, but we better be ready to help serve and support these women and the family. This is Transfiguration's podcast. We are Transfiguration in Oakdale. We strive to bring Christ to the East Metro, Christ who is the source and summit of our daily and eternal lives. Today we are joined by the lowly associate. I can say that. Can I say that?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't consider him the lowly. This self-proclaimed lowly associate.
Yes.
Father Brian Lynch, and this is Justin Cordham, the director of Formation, the lowly director of Formation here at Transfiguration. This podcast, we seek to help people know Christ better and to know how to follow him and give their life to him. And at this time of year, it is pro-life. It's like pro-life rallies and pro-life debates, and your Facebook might have debates even on it. I tend to stay out of those now, but I used to engage in those. Sometimes they were very rarely they were fruitful. I tend to think it's probably the most fruitful for the person observing and not for convincing the person you're actually talking to. Usually the person you're talking to is fairly convinced of their ideas. However, if someone from the outside or maybe even one of their friends observes the conversation and they see the pro-life person intellectually honest and loving in the whatever debate or whatever, then maybe they might be convinced. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you guys preaching about it this Sunday?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that like a plan?
Yeah. It's pretty rare. It's something that I'm extremely open to, and but rarely does Father Erickson sort of weigh in and say a topic he wants covered. But he did this week as a pro-life message, and I'm gonna, for myself, I am going to try to allow the readings to form my presentation. So
this is going to come out after Sunday, by the way. So you will know if I did that or not. Oh yeah, you can
at this point
write comments. That helps the algorithms. Write comments, give us reviews, let people know that you're listening to this.
Yeah, I want a podcast that is a YouTube thing a podcast if it has video, or is that called something else?
I mean, kind of depends on how they format it.
Okay,
because the podcasts that I watch on YouTube, they're usually also available on podcast apps.
Oh, okay,
so that's also the case with this, but we only have audio.
Okay,
yeah.
So somebody I listened to said, right, even if their comment is I like cookies, that helps. And,
yeah.
But I sort of embrace that really enthusiastically, and I think he's not as enthusiastic about that particular comment anymore. I've made a lot of cookie comments. And
oh, you have?
Yeah. I think I overdo stuff.
You worn out your welcome.
I think I wore out my welcome on the cookie comments.
People are quite different on those comments. There's a YouTube guy I watched that it's like tech reviews for outdoor stuff, and he replies to every comment.
Oh my goodness,
every single comment.
Yeah, this same
it's pretty awesome
person I think said, or some. Some are convinced you'll go crazy if you even read them, which
if you're popular,
I kind of
sure.
Yeah. I
just delete those. The weird
this particular person was comparing Led Zeppelin to Wham, and he thought that Led Zeppelin was, I think, objectively better at rock music maybe exactly, but I weighed in this. I think that Wham would bake a better cookie than Led Zeppelin, which somebody thought was funny. I don't think most people, but don't you? I mean, it's a legitimate. It's certainly possible.
Yeah,
but
I know almost nothing about popular music.
Okay,
I'm not a. I like the music that I like.
Sure,
I couldn't tell you what genre it is.
Okay.
Or most of the time, I couldn't even tell you like Led Zeppelin. What do they play? Everyone's yelling at me right now.
Stairway to Heaven is their iconic song.
The song "You Shall Not Play in a Guitar Store."
Yeah,
is that the one?
Wait, I think so. What is that from?
I think that's from Wayne's World.
Okay, yeah.
I think Wayne's World at least popularized it. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, interesting.
I'm showing my age. Wayne's World's like a 90s movie, right?
Yeah, I
so
think
is Led Zeppelin, though, isn't it?
Oh, Led Zeppelin is
80s
a 70s,
band?
early
70s?
70s band. Yeah.
What about Wham? What do they play?
Wham is more 80s.
What about
George Michael is is half. And
I've heard that
most
guy.
He died, I think.
Oh yeah,
poor guy. Talented.
That
it's
happens.
so it's just these incredibly talented people. It is fascinating to me in that so many artistic geniuses are they're brilliant, but they're kind of on the edge of unwell.
It's probably. I mean, I think some of it has to do with what makes them so good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like a gift and a curse.
Yeah,
you know?
it's really wow.
I wouldn't mind having the curse of Tom Brady, though. That'd be a nice curse, being ridiculously good at football. You know.
Yeah,
That'd
he
be
doesn't
fun.
seem to suffer from the same problems.
He's
as,
a little weird. He's quite quirky.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think it's a different than the musical genius
Probably
stuff
and
but,
artists.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's probably true. Authors, poets,
yeah.
those type. There's
Tragic.
Yeah. Well, we I wanted to bring up Father's got some new animals in the rectory, and
Yeah.
you may hear them if you drive by in the summer. Not right now. You may
Yeah,
hear them
well, the
in
windows
summer.
are not open. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm pretty responsible, I think, and I've had birds before. I had canaries in the past. I had a mated pair of canaries, and that resulted in more canaries that I could handle. So I was taking
That's how it works, right?
Yeah. So I took a different tack this year. I got a couple of male Gouldian finches, which are beautiful, colorful birds. And I had a heck of a time getting them. Had a really interesting process. I couldn't find or identify a local breeder of Gouldian finches, and I ended up ordering them through the mail. And it was amazing.
Mail order finches.
It was amazing. They came in the mail, and
from Florida, right?
From Florida, they left on a Tuesday evening, and they were at the Oakdale post office on the next morning for me to pick up. And the fellow was brilliant. He made basically a cage out of a box with food and watering and a perch for them. And I mean, I think it was traumatic for them. And
Oh, I'm sure.
But and it took them a couple of days to warm up. But
maybe literally.
Yeah.
I mean, they were on an airplane, presumably.
Yeah, they
got here overnight.
There was a heat pack in the
really
in the cage.
This
too,
guy is
so,
genius.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Wow. I
So
suppose you could learn the hard way. I sent some finches and I didn't put a heat pack in, and they died.
yeah, canary in a coal mine sort of thing. But but no, it's all good, and so yeah, I'm happy. It's fun. It's nice to have just something living and moving and chirping, and the one is more active. They've got a decent sized cage, and
They've got a huge cage. I've seen it.
Yes.
That's huge
Yeah, it's
for
pretty
finches.
Yeah. So one flies back and forth more regularly than the other and has a more regular chirp. The other one, obviously less active and doesn't chirp as frequently, but he has a song that he sings. It's about 15 seconds long. It's not very good, but he
practicing.
Sings it. He's practicing. So,
do you think birds they have to practice their song?
I don't know. I haven't noticed him get any better at it. Well, yeah.
Or maybe just finches don't have pretty songs. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Ooh. I mean, they're not known to sing the way a canary sings.
Bird experts, let us know. Yeah. Write in your comments what cookies they would eat and if birds have to practice their song.
Yeah.
Maybe they have. Did you notice that the canaries had like independent songs? I mean, the birds that I hear outside are like, they all sound the same.
Yeah, I think canaries do have independent songs. Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Wow. You think they're jealous of each other? Like, oh man, Bob's sounds so good.
Maybe.
You think it's probably like a mating thing for them? Wow. Little did you know that you tune into Transfiguration in Oakdale and you'd hear about songbirds or what songs they make or how loud they chirp. So they're warming up. They're probably chirping a little bit more than they used to when you first got them.
Yeah, they were really quiet when I first got them.
They were freaked out.
Yeah. They were. I think in shock.
Huh. Nice. Well, Pope Francis recently, what was that? Was that a homily that he talked about pets and adoption?
Yeah, I can't remember the context. I guess
I think it was a homily.
Yeah, it was broadly speaking a pro-life message of hoping that I think there's concern about population in some countries, especially Europe, not at the replacement level, and I think that includes Italy with a bullet. I think Italy might be the lowest.
They're one of the worst, yeah.
So, yeah, I think for some reason he was in a situation to talk about that, and he expressed concern that sometimes couples will maybe substitute pets for children, and he expressed some concern about that, and it's like a lot of things, it's legitimate to a point, right? And not too surprisingly, people who are crazy about animals were not maybe as enamored with that comment.
Yeah, they flipped out. Some people flipped out. But I think, I experienced this in undergrad, even in a fairly remedial philosophy class. What's the point of marriage?
Sure.
And there were plenty of people that don't understand the church's teaching on the point of marriage, and one of them is to be open to life and act, not just say you're open to life. Like, oh yeah, I'm open to life. If it happens through all the roadblocks I'm putting up, that's not legit. Yeah. But I'm actually, the good of marriage. One of the goods of marriage is having kids.
Yeah.
And there's two extremes out there. There's you're not really good Catholic parents unless you got 8 or a minivan full, and then there's the opposite of we only have one because we can't afford it or whatever. There's legitimate reasons. I don't think we're going to get into that in this podcast, but I think you have to understand what the church's teaching is of it and to prayerfully discern what that is. And marriage itself is a sacrificial vocation. It's a vocation of service. It's not a vocation of, now I get to live with this person for the rest of my life and just, I get a buddy or a companion or something. It is a sacrament of service. Similar. It's on the same level in some ways as the priesthood in its service. It's a sacrament of service, a service to our family and the community, service to my wife. My main goal as a husband is to help my wife get to heaven and to have kids and be fruitful and multiply and to help them get to heaven. And the service of a priest is to the people, to the community. And they have to, both vocations have to lay down their lives for other people. And And it's just it's a little different with pets, or some people call fur babies. Just know that we're not judging, obviously, but there is a truth out there to it, and there is a good, and the church asks us to be open to having kids, not just for the proliferation of our society, and it gets a weird tone when it's like economic, Sure. That's certainly not what I don't care about I think it's a good thing, but I don't care about the economic part of it. I care about the sacrificial part of it is the biggest for us. Because I'm even just my wife and I, we really tried to have kids, and we had a very difficult time. It was actually a burden to us, mostly because I had cancer twice, and they shocked and poisoned my body for so long that it just doesn't function as properly as it should. And it was really, really easy to be selfish with our time. Really easy. Every Saturday, we could do whatever we wanted. We could really do whatever we wanted. And that was one of the reasons we didn't adopt, but we had some Chinese boys live with us, because it was a sacrifice, and we knew that we had to get out of ourselves in order to just not be so selfish. It's just so easy.
Sure.
Every night we could do whatever we want. I could read 5 books, I can't read 5 books anymore.
Yeah.
And it seems like, oh man, I don't get to do what I want to do. I don't get to bike as much as I used to. I don't watch as much movies as I used to. And that's easy to say, like, oh man, I don't get to do the exciting stuff that I get to do. But having a child is so much more rewarding, and it's not just about the rewards, but it's helping me be more like Christ, to be sacrificial with my time and to give of my life. And and it is a sacrifice, and it's a good thing. It's one of the what a purpose of life is to lay down our lives for others. And having kids it's not a guarantee you're going to do that. You can still be a really selfish parent. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to look around and see that happens, or even just look in the mirror and see it's really easy to do. I don't want to change her diaper when she goes, for the 10th time in the evening or in the middle of the night or whatever it is. So it's not a guarantee. We have to actively pursue it. And I think that's some of what Pope Francis was getting at least that's what I saw, is it's a sacrifice. And I think the good of children and the extra sacrifice of kids is worth it. And it helps. It's actually good for us. It's not just, the kids and the economic thing, but it's actually good for my soul to offer it up for other people and to sacrifice. And it's part of what being the vocation of marriage is as well. And just like a priest, you could be a super selfish priest, right?
Oh, yeah.
It'd be quite easy to do that. You do whatever the heck you want, and just come in for Mass and then go golf and just stare at your birds all day. And it's not a guarantee that you're going to lay down your life as a priest.
No.
You can easily just be the worst person ever, because hardly any priests even live with anyone.
Yep. You
could be super selfish. So you have to actively pursue laying down your life for others.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what you're saying.
All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about why we even talk about pro-life stuff right now. It's the main reason is the anniversary of the ruling of Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, a lot of Christians are hoping that gets overturned.
Yeah.
I don't think. I had a moral theologian even say, 10 years ago, maybe we shouldn't even fight for it because it's maybe unreasonable. Maybe we should work for, trying to reduce abortions and to help with adoptions. And it's quite hopeful now. It seems like this might actually happen, but then we got to be ready to lay down our lives. It's not going to change overnight. We got to be ready as Christians to be active and be ready to support these women and these families when, that option is not there anymore, which we would rejoice to the heavens. but we better be ready to help serve and support these women and the families.
Yeah. I at the risk of being a downer, I think, yeah, and it is interesting. 10 years ago, perhaps some of the what was not foreseen was the makeup of the Supreme Court, though not perfect. It's I think uncharacteristically conservative compared to what it might be, and so that certainly is part of the hope. That I believe that what we're hoping for is that the ruling will say that the states, as each individual state has a right to make the laws concerning abortion, and that the federal government is not allowed to make laws that interfere with that. And so that would bring it down to the level of the state. So unfortunately I'm a downer, maybe it's not fair, but I think if I lived in Mississippi, I'd be more optimistic that the state I was living in was going to take that off the table,
or North Dakota, South Dakota,
or maybe Dakota.
Yeah,
but yeah. So, and in my preaching, what I had alluded to earlier, hopefully, maybe I'll get some feedback if I did it at all or well in my preaching this weekend. That what I want to bring in, I think the readings lend themselves to looking at it as a community issue, and so often we don't we so often we're such a individualistic society. We unfortunately we don't focus on the individual baby whose life will be lost in abortion. The individual we tend to focus on is the mom, and it's not, I think, often presented fairly. I think the data that I'm aware of suggests that this mom, that we sort of pretend that the average woman who goes into an abortion clinic is there because she wants to be, and she has this very robust freedom, and she just is, but that, I think, is a small minority of cases. There's pressure from her community, which sometimes sadly is the father, sometimes sadly her own parents, to do something that she doesn't want to do, with threats of violence or withdrawing financial support or affection or other kinds of support.
Yeah. So
I think the readings, they lend themselves to broadening, looking at abortion as a community failure, the failure of a community.
Yeah.
In a sense.
The people I know that have had abortions, that's the exact situation.
Yeah.
They felt forced into it.
Yeah.
By outside of themselves. And some, I think, feel forced into it, even if it may not be acutely their family. The broader idea that my life is gone. I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm not going to be able to accomplish anything. Yeah. And if I really want to have a future, then I can't go through with this.
Yeah.
And so I want to try to, I agree. I really like we'll see how the Sunday homily comes out, but I like that idea. I think it's very helpful for our culture right now, because there's probably, we live in a pandemic of loneliness as well. People don't feel supported. Yeah. And as Christians, we have to be the first ones out there to support those women and their families, and whatever type of pressure they might feel, we to our best ability, we want to try to alleviate it. Whatever it is, maybe it's financial, maybe it's a home, maybe it's support, maybe it's safety. Maybe it's, finding a doctor. Maybe it's separating from a relationship, and we can help them with that. We can't do a podcast without mentioning the actual, the supports that are in place right now. Options for Women is one that we really support here at Transfiguration.
Options for Women East is our particular branch, right?
Right off of White Bear Lake Avenue? Or Road?
White Bear Avenue.
White Bear Avenue? It's not Lake Avenue. Yeah, it's just White Bear, isn't it?
I think so.
White Bear Avenue in St. Paul.
The Rockin' East Side.
Yeah, and we've gone there. I've been there many, many times with youth groups and Summer Stretch and all those things. We really want to support them. They're doing a really good job in supporting women in an appropriate manner, and they're giving them a community that is able to help them, and they help them in a wide variety of ways, with medically. They help them a little bit financially.
Yeah.
They help them with actual stuff, like cribs and clothes and diapers and all those things that are the unknown that someone might feel this, pressure from, is alleviating some of those, financial and monetary and, odds and ends pressures that you might have. It's also, supporting them for having an adoption as well. That if that's not an option for them to keep the child, that they can have an adoption as well. They can support that. And we really want to support that. There's plenty of families like my own that, have looked into adoption and really would like that. It's not as easy as you would think. It's not as easy as it should be.
Yeah.
It really ought to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
However, there are reasons it's not so easy because, for a variety of things, it's been abused and whatnot. But that's one of the options here on the east side. There is what's the other clinic called out in Woodbury?
I think that's me. Is that another options?
Is it
another options clinic? Yeah, I'm pretty focused on
life care clinics.
Oh,
if
maybe.
you see that word or that affiliation, life care clinics, those are good ones as well. Yeah, and I think praying for and supporting, I think, is a big thing. Praying for those, women that are contemplating abortion, and then also finding practical ways to support them. Praying outside of the abortion clinics. Fathers does that on Tuesday mornings. You can join him. He is the man of the hour. How long are you there?
I'm there for a pretty short time. I recently had a kind of it's called a promotion. There was a good fella who was there, and I was there sometimes sort of supporting him. And then I think he discerned out. He's doing all kinds of stuff. So, I don't know what he is doing right now. But so Tuesday morning, I have the first shift. I try to get there by 7:15. I think officially I'm supposed to be there until 8:30 when Kate comes after me, and she's amazing. I mean, she's a lot better at it than me. But I'm there on the first shift on Tuesday morning, and so some of it kind of goes along with what I discerned. Yeah, I'm just like Mother Teresa, right? I discerned the calling within a calling. I do like to be present there to the people who are working that work. So probably most of the people I interact with are employees, but of Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood. Oh.
And I mean, I'm not interacting with them, and I'm just in a real broad sense interacting. Like
you're praying for them,
and I'm like trying to offer them information. Yeah. So I'm interact. So for those maybe don't know, a sidewalk counselor. I work with the program coordinated by Pro-Life Action Ministries, and so the sidewalk counselor is the person responsible for trying to distribute information to people who are coming to the clinic. And so I'm offering information to all these people who are arriving at the clinic and leaving the clinic, but obviously in the morning they're more arriving than leaving. So most in that hour our employees, but I want them to repent. I want them to convert, and
it has happened.
Yeah,
maybe not on your watch, but I mean, it happens.
Yeah, no, and on it's so hard to measure. God only knows what we're doing. If you needed to be buoyed by only like confirmed saves, you'd
give up.
It would be hard. But I think on Tuesday I noticed, and on Tuesday morning there's a group who prays the Rosary, and so there's like these 4 military precision folks who do this Rosary. It's pretty impressive. But when we were there, I saw at least one. I think it was 2. People do these sort of erratic U-turns when they got to Planned Parenthood, and I think you might have joked with me and said, "Oh, they saw you and they got scared away or something like that." but it could be, and I do want to feel like I'm having an impact. So the way I maybe uncharacteristically, optimistically, and generously interpret is maybe, they see us there at that hour. I was on the fence. I really didn't want to do this, and when I saw, and then I'm a priest. I dress like a priest. So, and maybe that's maybe that's enough to say, I'm not going to do this. I don't know, but it can only help, right? It's not. Nobody's going to go from not wanting an abortion to wanting an abortion because they see people there praying and trying to help them to make a better choice.
Yeah, and I think we also sometimes downplay the power of our intercessory prayer. I mean, this might be your prayers at at Planned Parenthood might be helping a woman in Kansas City.
Sure.
Rethink because the power of prayer is real, and it works outside of what we see, and sometimes we don't get that confirmation, and some of us need it, some of us don't, and whatever, but we really ought to trust that it's doing something, and not just, and we might not see the U-turn, but there's plenty of people that say, if I don't see any type of support on my way there, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they see, there's people that care about this.
Yeah.
And they might not even take a pamphlet or anything, but they just turn around and second guessed. And like you said earlier, there's so much going on. They're going there most of the time out of fear.
Yeah.
Because they're going there out of fear, and they're trembling in fear.
Yeah.
And that's why some of the, I see some of the stuff on whatever social media or people interacting, and there needs to be an outpouring of compassion, especially as Christians, because we're just seen as just stop it, stop killing these babies and murder, and we're just yelling and screaming. That's sometimes the perception.
Well, sometimes that happens.
Sometimes it does happen, yes. But that's also the perception too. It's these people don't really care about me. What? Yeah. They just want to they just want whatever. They just want the law changed, or they just want we really care about you and that child. You're part of God's creation, and that's the good of it. And that's it's also what Pope Francis is getting at too, is that dog, however nice he is and however much comfort he gives us, whatever, he's not the same. He's never going to be an adopted son or daughter of the king, but we can be, through adoption, through our baptism, we are sons and daughters, real sons and daughters that he gives his life for. And that's the real thing. We're not just doing it to overturn some law so that we can beat our chests or something. We're doing it because we really care about humans.
Yeah, and in a certain way, I think hopefully it's a measure of authenticity when we recognize, if hopefully that this law will be overturned, and it has the potential to make the demands on me more challenging, and I'm ready to rise to that. I'm ready to do the extra work that's going to be required of me to support these women. So, we're
ready to have a family move into our house. Like personally, we've been asked that before by sidewalk counselors, and are you willing? Are you willing to let this happen if a family decides they want to change, but they also need safety?
Sure.
Because they're living in fear and they don't have a home if they don't go through with this abortion.
Yeah.
Are there people really actually ready to open their house?
Yeah.
And my wife and I have said yes for a long time to that, and to people that are on the sidewalks and in the streets. But also, I think there's a cultural ignorance about what the arguments are too, and maybe we don't probably have enough time to go through all of them. But I think some people, there's an amount of compassion, for this woman, and there's, with all sins, there's a perception of a good. There's a perceived good that's going to come out of this. The perceived good for the person that's in fear is that, well, I don't have to lose my entire life and live on the street. I actually have support from my family. I'm going to be able to graduate from high school, or whatever that perceived, good is that's going to come out of it. We need to help families realize that there's a different good here, that is a child, that is a son or daughter of God, that we can help and support in whatever way. If you're going to be able to keep the child, that's great. We want to support you. If it's adoption, we want to support that as well. But some out of compassion think they come up with some really bad arguments, and I hear all of them, and they're all none of them are really good, and sometimes they're, I don't know why they really think them. I think it's fairly intellectually dishonest, because we live in a world where we know what that is not just a clump of tissue. We know it's not just a clump of cells, that it is a distinct human being, distinct from the mom, distinct from the dad, a completely unique DNA that is in a stage of life that is vulnerable. However, that does not make their life any less valuable. If I'm going into surgery here, and they're going to give me some anesthesia, I'm extremely vulnerable during that stage, during that surgery, and that doesn't make my life any less valuable. My wife, had a accident from sledding. She was in a coma. She's not able to function really at all. Does our functionality make us less valuable? No, of course not. Does the stage in life that we're in make us less valuable? No, of course not. And people say, no, it's just a fetus. No. A fetus is a stage of life within a human. Yeah. It's just a stage. It's just like saying, well, sorry, you're not valuable. You're an adolescent. Well, you're an infant.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're in the womb. No, that's just a stage of life. It just so happens that a human needs to be in gestation for 9 months, in the womb. That's a healthy stage of life. And just like after that, the baby needs support from mom and dad, mostly mom, they need milk and support, and you have to do that. Otherwise the baby will die as well. It's not like, and I've heard these arguments like, well, the baby can't take care of itself. Well, you can't take care of itself until it's like 16. And we all know that'd be even horrible. Even if you were 16, you can't take care of yourself. You can barely take care of, a dog or something at 16, for goodness sakes. Yeah. So, some of these arguments are just, well, it's too small. Well, there's no heart, and I thank God that some of these states are adopting some law, some heartbeat laws, because people are starting to realize, okay, if it has a heartbeat, then it has it's viable. Like viability. What's viability? I mean, that doesn't take away my dignity. I'm not that valuable if if I'm in a coma and I'm not doing anything. If I'm in a vegetative state, that doesn't take away my dignity at all. And the support and everything else. And I think you're right. And we'll see what happens with the homily. But the community has to come together to support all of those lives.
Yeah, and
all of them.
Sort of. I just do want to make clear as I can that I'm Father Brian Lynch, the lowly associate pastor. Among the things I do here is I try to coordinate pro-life efforts, and we've got please contact me if you're interested. Don't be scared about some of the more extreme manifestations of pro-life activities that I myself am attracted to. We really do try to find places for people with all kinds of gifts and interests, and we've got there's so much that we can do, but we really need people who are well, it's helpful to have people that are passionate and willing to really spend some time working on it. We have desire to do more for options and even some things that conventionally people consider fun, like even just having parties for them and things to celebrate. So many. Yeah, we want to have pregnancy and being a mom be a source of joy, and this isn't difficult stuff, but it takes people who are willing to contribute, and it certainly financially is true that helps, but even emotionally, really, there's in an earlier comment you made about the loneliness. I mean, there's just such an absence of emotional support in so many situations that we could really benefit from folks who have that to offer. So,
yeah, if you know anyone that's struggling in the situation they're in right now, please give us a call. Please give Options for Women East a call. You have our full support here. You are not alone in this. Whether you feel it or not, whether you're not getting it from your immediate community, we want to find that for you. And also, if you're inspired to do more, please contact us. We can find ways that you can support the pro-life community and the pro-life activity here at Transfiguration, but on the east side and everywhere else. And like Father said, if you have particular gifts, we can put you to work. Christ is asking us to all, do the thing that He's given us to do, and He's given us all different gifts, and we have to discern what they are and put them into action. So I know that was kind of a shotgun approach to pro-life, but there's so much more. But know that there is support. There really is support. Whether the person feels it or not, there are plenty of places where they're going to find support, and we also need to do more. We need to have more support. We need to have more people with all variety of gifts to utilize those for the kingdom, for building up for Christ, but also really, really practically to just help people.
I wanted to give shout outs to a couple of, one really local. We have a group at Transfiguration that prays in Woodbury near the Planned Parenthood clinic in Woodbury, that is on like Radio and Valley Creek, I think, in that area. So certainly contact me if you'd like to be connected with them. And then number of my family members have relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina, and there's a small Catholic college there, Belmont Abbey College, and they have this singular, I believe, unique in the real sense of the word unique situation where they have a home for for college students, which by definition are women who are pregnant, and they receive all the resources they need to be a pregnant student and to live there on campus and attend college. So I didn't prepare well enough. The name's escaping me, but if anyone wants to learn more about that, you can contact me, and I can do it'll be a computer search more or less to find out, the people to get in touch with there. I was able to tour it when I was there visiting. It's a beautiful facility, really nice.
Good. What else? Anything else before we go, Father?
I think, there's so many things I'd love you to people to contact me to get more involved. I could really use people identifying something they're passionate about and saying, Father, I want to take this on, and I'd be interested in organizing. I just can't organize every event. That would be helpful in whatever capacity you're willing to help. That would be great for me. And I would say, this ruling that the Supreme Court is gonna make this in 2022. Really do pray. It would just it'd just be so amazing if they struck down Roe and gave it to the states. And please pray for that outcome, that Roe will be struck down as it ought to be, and that the states will be free to make these laws that protect life.
And we are asked to do prayer and fasting.
Yeah.
Was it Jesus or St. Paul that said some things are only achieved by prayer and fasting? Was it?
Yeah, Jesus.
Was it Jesus? Yeah,
Jesus.
He's good. He's got some good stuff.
Yeah,
in the Bible. But as we joke a little bit, it's true. If you don't maybe feel called to do some sidewalk counseling, prayer and fasting is real and builds up the kingdom.
Yeah.
And so take it up. Some people do it every single Friday, prayer and fasting for an intention, for the intention of, whatever it is, whatever you feel inclined, for women struggling with it, for your heart to be open to helping more, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or for, Supreme Court rulings or local jurisdiction and changing or whatever else as well. So the benefits are real. It's not just something Catholics do to lose weight on Fridays or something. Jesus really, we believe he's God, right? So if he says it, it's true. So he asked us to do prayer and fasting to change hearts and to change our minds and to change our culture. So,
yeah, and that's a good point too. We also sometimes this prayer and fasting is very much about changing ourselves. Mm-hmm. So let's remind ourselves of that. That's really significant. It's sometimes we ourselves need conversion, and so those are he gave us prayer, fasting, and giving as the three fundamentals. So when we don't use those, we suffer spiritually.
Amen. Would you be willing to give us your blessing?
Surely. It's the Feast of St. Agnes right now, so I think we'll invoke her intercession through the intercession of St. Agnes, Virgin and Martyr. May Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thanks, Father.
My pleasure.